I'm KC.
And I'm Tyler.
And you're listening to
the Element Podcast.
What is happening, all my woods people? I hope y'all are having a great day. I hope you're excited, and I hope you got some turkey hunting in the plans, in the works, or maybe you have been out in the woods. I know some of these southern states are open. This is the Element Podcast, brought to you by First Light Gear, and we have been doing a little hunting ourselves, eh, Tyler?
Yeah. Don't say it like that. Eric's not here.
How many H's are in Tyler?
0.
You know, I went to high school with a guy that had an H in his.
Really?
Tyler, yeah.
He probably was raised by Yankee parents.
Actually, not at all, but yeah. I don't know, kind of strange.
Or named, at least. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, we've been doing some turkey hunting. I'm actually been on a, I guess you could call it a quest. I'm not like a crazy fanatic turkey hunter or anything, but I like turkey hunting, something fun to do in the spring. And I happened to shoot a Merriam's turkey in New Mexico last year. If you watched it on, you might have watched it on the Meat Eater YouTube channel. And at that point, I started to realize, well, I got one more before I get the slam, the U.S. slam. I think it's called the U.S. slam, right? Mm-hmm. It's the 4 subspecies of turkeys, which is Rio, Eastern, Merriam's, and Osceola. So just by happenstance, I come across a guy by the name of Matt Cates. And he happens to have a lot of Osceolas around on a property that he does some hunting on. And so we've got Matt actually here with us, and we've been hunting with him just for a few days while we're in Florida. We've been bouncing around all over the state, doing all sorts of different activities. Southern Florida, or Florida in general, is just like it's a lot like Texas, where it's a unique place, and there's a lot of different culture there. There's a lot of different things to do, a lot of different critters to chase. The fishing side of things is just, pristine. So anyway, that's kind of in the middle of all this stuff we've been doing. We were able to hook up with Matt here, and this morning, are we spilling the beans?
Well, let's just keep the beans at bay for a bit.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Okay.
I got an idea. Matt, we had a big debate on the way here.
Okay.
Because I haven't seen your name spelled. Do you spell your name the German way or the English way?
It's M-A-T-T-C-A-T-E-S.
Well, I figured that one. Okay, so C-A-T-E-S.
Yep.
Cates. All right.
Yep.
Yeah. So I thought it might be like the K-A-E-T-Z or whatever.
No,
Matt
no.
Cates.
C-A-T-E-S.
And you grew up here. We're in Central Florida.
Yep.
What was it like growing up in Central Florida?
Man, it's changed a lot. This place is getting developed, especially our coastlines. A lot of construction. They're building that up pretty good. But the interior of Florida's kind of still the same. It's a lot of ranch land, groves.
What's a grove?
Orange grove, citrus.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of citrus in Florida. So there's still a lot of that. Like I say, our coastlines are what's getting developed so much. But, we've always been involved with cattle ranching and working in some groves, and then started doing a little I guess you could call it maintenance on ranches, just keeping the hog populations down, and there's a need for it here, pretty heavy. So I kind of fell into that little niche of things and just stuck with the hunting. It was always my passion, and through the angles I was working with the landowners trying to keep the hog populations down, it just turned into more for us, and started a hunting operation, and next thing you know, it's pretty wide open.
Was there a bunch of pigs here when you were young?
There was.
Not that you're not a striking young man now, but say as a teenager.
I'm a little weathered. But yeah, there's always been hogs here. And so I can tell you that I started keeping track several years ago, and I average about 1,300 hogs a year, and it doesn't look like we've even hunted them.
Man.
So, and it's not like I'm the only one doing it. It's a popular activity here. So
You know about that.
I do. I've been telling you something about the trapping experience and stuff, and we did aerial operations quite a bit, at least once a year.
Yep.
And you're actually probably one of the few people I've met that's killed more pigs than me. So way to go, man. It's interesting how pigs work. And I guess a little side note, we did some iguana stuff earlier in the week elsewhere.
Beans are spilling.
And they are. Is that the beans?
That's
I
thought
the beans.
There's all kinds of beans.
There's lots of beans around.
There's a lot of beans going on.
All kinds of frijoles.
That's right. Moro. Yeah.
Beans and rice.
iguanas kind of proliferate kind of similarly, where it's just at this point in time with the pigs, you're just trying to maintain.
Yeah,
right?
we're just trying to keep them under control. I mean, as you can see, riding through these pastures, they'll beat your brains out riding across them.
3 months, 3 weeks, and 3 days is
It
what
doesn't take
gestation is on a hog, and a sow's ready to breed at 9 months old. Start doing math on that real quick, and man, it's kind of wild. It's almost like we better off if we could just stabilize and naturalize.
Yeah.
Like if you just get to a point where finally they stop expanding, and then you can kind of understand what to do with them.
Yeah, like you're not going to beat them, right? So you just got to keep them under control. You're never going to get rid of them. It's not going to happen. Especially in Florida, with as thick as woods as we have, it's just it's not feasible. But to definitely keep them intact, that's not that's our goal, is just to keep them manageable.
When'd you kill your first gator?
I killed my first gator when I was probably, I think I was 6 or 7 years old.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I'm 52 now, so there's been a few in between.
Wow. So the hogs can actually, they're pretty tasty, but gators
They
like
are.
to eat them too, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, they do. They get a few. They get a few every year. They're gators' main diet down here where we're at is fish and turtles.
Yeah.
So,
It's surprising to me that they eat fish, like
They do.
live fish, huh?
yeah, and that's the majority of their diets. Live
Really?
Fish. Yeah.
So they just sit there with their mouth open underwater.
What
and
they usually do is they go get in a place where fish congregate, and they'll just lay there. And if they lay there, eventually, fish are going to bump into them, especially if there's flowing water or the water's running, culvert pipes, stuff like that. A lot of places, when they pump water in and out, the culvert pipes will empty out into a canal, cause a deep spot. Well, when those canals get low, that spot holds all the fish. Them gators will get in those holes right there, man. They will just gorge themselves.
So you're saying don't do a backflip off of a culvert.
better check before
That's
you
not
go.
a good spot to
See,
do
this
one, right?
morning you're like, hey, just walk down this road right here, and you'll get to your spot. And then
Yeah.
you probably know, but there's a little low spot there that I tried to shine my flashlight into, and I couldn't see the bottom. So we took a kind of roundabout around it.
Well, you guys remember what we rode by yesterday.
Yeah. I was up. You've got this cool. I mean, it's just like a Can-Am. Like
It's like a high rack.
Yeah, it's got it's what we call a high ride down in South Texas, pretty much. But it makes your vehicle like a 8-seater, pretty much. And that top one back there, I was sitting in it yesterday evening, and what my head height back there is probably 11 foot or something. I imagine
roughly.
sitting down.
Yep.
And you knew the gator was there, but nobody else really did. But we went through this. The water's real clear. It's tanning around here, but it's real clear everywhere you go through. And I looked down, and there was like a 9-footer in the water. Like we almost ran over his tail.
Yeah, if we would have been a little bit to the right there, we would have bumped him.
He didn't move or do nothing.
Yep.
And it's weird. I don't know what that that response is. I guess they just under the water, and they're like, well, I'm better off not letting anything know I'm here.
Well, it's just like deer and coyotes and everything, right? If I'm out in the dark, they don't see me. Gator feels like that underwater. Well, if I just go underwater, there's no way they see me. I'm safe.
Yeah.
So would he have let you run him over?
Yeah, he would have let me bump him,
Yeah.
and then he would have shot out of there. Yeah, for sure.
No, it's amazing what power they can generate.
It's when we kill these big gators, man, and sometimes things get a little western when we're hunting them. If a hunter doesn't make a good shot or something, and we have to get hands on with them, it'll make you rethink how strong you think you are.
Yeah, I bet.
So
You ever been bitten?
I've been bitten, not nothing too extreme. My son got bit. He had about a 10.5 grab him by the hand one day. We were dealing with one, and that got pretty ugly. But luckily, he didn't lose anything. But I do have 3 friends that have lost limbs off of gators.
Oh my goodness!
Yep.
And that's from dealing with them. It's not like accidental.
No, that's from dealing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. One guy lost his hand. Well, the one buddy of mine, he had his arm wrung off at his shoulder. He was just swimming at night with some friends out at a little spot party, and they went for a swim, and gator grabbed his arm, took him down to the bottom. And it's the only reason he's alive today is that gator started death rolling with him and wrung his arm off. If he wouldn't have wrung his arm off, he would have drowned him and killed him.
Ooh,
Golly,
that
it's
is-
a little much.
Yeah.
That is terrible.
Man, that's
So-
rough. I bet you that there's a lot of aspects to that too, like infection side of that is probably pretty rough because this water around here is
Water, and then just it being done by a gator because
Yeah.
the gators
Yeah.
have so much bacteria on them. They live in warm, stagnant water.
Right.
Everything they eat's basically rotten.
Yeah.
Besides like if they catch a fish. If they catch anything that has any size to it, they have to let it rot before they eat it because they don't want to fight to try to tear pieces off. They let it rot, get soft. It's just much easier.
That's
So
interesting.
if a gator grabbed you, and took you to the bottom of a lake or river, what would you do?
I'd probably make peace with everything I've
Really?
ever needed to do.
There's like no way to get out of it. You don't think?
You know, there's a couple things you can do for sure. Are you going to have that train of thought when it's going down?
Right.
Probably not. You're going to go in panic mode, go into shock. But probably the best thing you could do, which I don't know if anybody would actually have the mindset to do this, would be to reach in. If he has you, his mouth is not shut. Mm-hmm. So if you could reach in to that little flap in their throat and just disengage that a little bit, so he started taking in water, he's probably going to turn you loose.
Yeah.
If you poked at the eyes, I would say maybe, but probably not. He's probably not going to turn you loose. Yeah.
It's just.
I've seen him bite down on things when we're trying to get him in, and we try to get him loose or get him to let go of something, and you can do about whatever you want to him. He's not letting it go.
Yeah.
You think that in the shark attack world, it's almost exclusively misidentification on the animal's part.
Right.
That's what's hypothesized. Do you think that's how it is with gators too? A lot of times.
I don't.
You think they're trying to eat you?
I don't know that they're trying to really so much eat you. Some of them, yes, but all of them, no. For instance, we had a 70-some-year-old lady was killed earlier this year here. She was walking her dog. It's all caught on her own home security camera. She's walking her dog in her backyard, had a reclaimed water retention pond for like irrigation and stuff. And the gator, you can see him coming all the way across the pond. He's swimming so fast he's got a wake behind him. He's coming after the dog. And I don't know why, but a dog is a dinner bell to an alligator. So he's coming to get the dog. The lady's elderly. She's not aware of what's going on. She finally looks up, sees the gator. She's not doing anything quick. She's got the leash wrapped around her wrist. She turns to walk back up the bank. The gator catches the dog. She could have just slid the leash off her wrist and she would have been fine. She's 70-some-year-old. She's fighting this alligator for her dog. The gator shakes his head a couple times and snatches her down on top of him. He reaches over, bites her, and you can watch it all on the video. Slides right back in the water with her, drowns her.
Creepy, man.
Yeah, man, that's rough.
This morning, when I was walking around that little slough right there, at one point we kind of turned back to the road. I think it was when we made the loop around it.
Yeah.
When we came back to the road, I shined my flashlight to make sure as we went through the ditch there wasn't a gator there.
Yeah.
Just on my phone.
Sure.
And like 10 yards, I see eyes.
Yeah.
And there was a bobcat just sitting there staring at us.
Right.
They eat bobcats? They pretty much eat anything that gets in the water, right?
Yeah, they'll eat anything. I have gutted a few of them just to see what's in them, just because it's I deal with gators every day and it's interesting to me. I find a lot of possum, raccoon is more of what, because they kind of, especially the raccoons, they kind of hang out around the water areas and they walk that edge and that gator will pick them off. But he's mostly eating fish and turtles. But if an opportunity arises, he is going to take it.
So we watch a African documentary of crocodiles. Those crocodiles are lunging out of the water and grabbing stuff. Yeah. Gators do that a lot, or they?
I don't say a lot, but if they do it, they do it.
And so, do you think that the bigger mammals around here know that there's gators around and that?
Absolutely.
So I mean, it's not like I'm surprised at something. They know there's things in there trying to eat them.
Yeah, but they won't really mess with all the cows you see. All these water holes, every one of them's got a gator in it. And you'll see cows in there, just in there cooling off with the gators. A gator is not going to mess with a big cow. I mean, if it did, it'd have to be a massive gator.
What's a massive gator?
I mean, it would be something well over 10 foot unless he's just extremely aggressive, to mess with a cow, a full-grown one. They will catch a calf occasionally. And a lot of times in these water holes, I've drove up to the hole just looking to see what gators are in there. Maybe I see buzzards and I go check it out. And there'll be 5 or 6 calves in there floating dead. That gator was not killing them to eat them. He was killing them because he didn't want anything in his water hole. It was just territorial. So he's just killing everything that comes up there that he can catch. He's not going to do that to a big cow. A big cow would just walk out of the water with him. But those little calves and stuff, they can handle them and drown them pretty easy.
So when a deer goes to a water hole, it's like on edge.
It's subject to get caught.
Yeah.
We have found a buck in one of these water holes here on this place that a gator had caught and killed.
Huh. Man, that's crazy. It would seem like it would almost be hard to get them to age class, that way. But I guess there's just a bunch of – the landscape holds a lot of animals. Period.
Yeah, we've got a lot of deer, a lot of turkeys, hogs. This is a pretty game-rich environment.
Yeah, I
right
guarantee you.
Yeah.
So what's an old gator?
Oh, man, when you start killing them 12 and 13-foot gators, they're going to be in that 70-plus.
Are they really that old?
Yeah,
Wow.
That's wild.
I don't know if you guys saw the story here a couple years back. They killed one in Mississippi. He's like their new state recorder right there. He was like right at 14 feet. They took him to a processor just like we do to have him process for our clients. Processor skinning him out. He finds musket balls in his back.
No way.
Wow.
They send the musket balls to the University of Mississippi to get tested, and they dated them back to 200 years.
That's wild.
200 years
And
old.
Hey, I need to look that story up.
Yeah.
That'd be, if we can find that, we'll link it in the show notes.
And so somebody ate a 200-year-old piece of meat off of that.
Well,
gator.
think about this, too. They probably weren't shooting at a little baby alligator
No.
with muskets.
Yeah.
So they were probably shooting at a fairly grown alligator back at that time. So that alligator, realistically, was probably 220 to 250 years old.
That's
Oh,
insane.
my goodness.
That's awesome.
That is cool. What? So when you say they're strong, because their arms just don't look that strong. Is it more like abdomen, tail working together?
It's that body movement. Now that tail is incredibly strong.
Yeah.
When I was younger, we were out riding in some airboats around here like we do all the time, and a buddy of mine thought he was going to be Mr. Tough Guy and jump off on one, and he jumped off on about a 10-footer and tried to catch it alive. Well, it smacked him in his thigh and it broke his femur. He had to ride 45-minute ride in on an airboat with a broken femur.
Oh my goodness.
How about that?
Yeah, they're not to mess with.
So
And the jaw power is unreal.
So you were telling me a little bit about the girth of the tail at the base of it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so just to give people, I always use this as an example. People say, well, how big are your gators? I tell them, on a trophy hunt, we're going to kill something in that 11-foot range is average. And they always want to know, well, what's he weigh? That alligator is going to weigh somewhere between 500 and 650 pounds, somewhere in that range on the big trophies. A couple gators that we have killed recently, their tails were abnormally large, like girth-wise. So we just run a tape on them to kind of have some measurements and see, because it's interesting. And we've killed some here lately. At the base of their tail, right behind their legs, they're 46 to 48 inches. So
That's a lot bigger around than me.
well, think
Yeah.
about
Bigger
how,
around than I
that's what
used to
he
be.
think about how big your waist is.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about the base of his tail.
Yeah.
It's bigger than your torso.
Is that all muscle, or is he storing fat back there?
That's every bit muscle.
Really?
Every bit.
Do they have much fat on them?
No.
Even
No.
the old ones don't really?
Nope. They'll
They're
have
just-
little layers of fat in like their tail. There's a tenderloin tube that runs through the bottom. The tail is kind of shaped almost like a star, or like a plus sign. There's two solid strips of meat on the top of that, and then on the bottom there's two strips of meat, but inside the two strips on the bottom there's like inside tenderloins like you'd get on an elk or a deer in the bottom section of the tail.
And
Are
you
they
treat-
tender?
Yeah, that's
they're
one of
more
that's about the tender.
You treat that differently than you do the rest of the tail.
Yeah, you treat that differently, and the jaw meat. Like a lot of people looks at a big gator when he's laying there and they see those big fat jaws. Well, that's all solid white meat.
How about that?
Yeah, so the jaw meat and that inside tenderloin, that's like your prime cuts on a gator.
What would you do with that when you cooked it?
Most people do old school with gator, man. They just cut it up into pieces, run it through a tenderizer, and fry it.
Yeah.
Like the gator bites, gator nuggets type thing. Yep.
Gotcha. And so, say a 500-pound gator. Would you say it's like an average gator for you, something like that, or
No, no. If he's 500, he's a big trophy
He's
gator.
big. Okay,
Yeah,
so
he's
a big
trophy.
500's a easy number to work with, I guess, is why I'm using that.
No,
Matt was
how-
telling
how
me
many-
that a lot of people think that they weigh more than they are because of maybe some TV shows and different things along the way that have, maybe elaborated a little bit on those
And they're
weights,
probably
you know what I mean?
long for their weight.
That's exactly
too,
right. So
yeah.
they're 11 foot, but it's still like you said, the jaws and the
Yeah.
How many
girth of
pounds of meat would you get off of a 500-pound gator?
On that, you're probably going to get 100 pounds, 80 to 100 pounds.
That's not bad.
No, it's
I
not
don't
bad
feel
at
like
all. There's a lot of meat.
And then, do most people have leather made out of their gators or something like that too?
A lot they'll get the head mounted, send the hides off for leather, or unless they're doing a half body or full body mount.
Yeah, well, wow.
Some people get some rugs done. Some people get some like the bearskin rug style.
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
you would actually be shocked at how many people get them full body mounted.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
It's a fairly large
What's the
percentage.
cost on a full body gator mount?
6,000-7,000 on a big one.
Oh my goodness!
Yep.
How about that?
But think about the pranks you could pull.
Oh, for sure. There's all kinds.
It would be
of
worth it, I think.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
You'd get your
when
money
you go
out
to Dallas Safari Club, like the croc up front, full body mounted, is like the thing. That's
Sure.
what every kid wants to see. So
what's a gator hunt like? I would like to do one at some point in my life, but it's not something that's like a bucket
sure.
list for me.
I
but
for
a lot
sure
of
would
people
like
it
to.
is. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
So is there is it more like a whitetail hunt or more like a thermal hog hunt?
We're spotting and stalking. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're doing a lot of spotting and stalking. We're riding on swamp buggies. We have these big platform swamp buggies on big tractor tires. We ride around on them. Sometimes we do it off the Can-Am. Just depends on what ranch we're on and how far we're going. So we basically ride. I've been judging gators my whole entire life. From the gator's nose to his eye, however many inches that is, will relate to how many feet he is.
You said that earlier this week.
I've heard
Glad to hear
that,
you-
yeah.
Is that nostrils?
Yeah.
So not like the tip of his nose.
I
but
just go from the
nostrils.
nostril to the corner of the eye.
Gotcha.
And we're not talking exact, right?
Sure.
But if you run a tape on and it's 8 inches, he's going to roughly be 8 foot, roughly.
is it easier for you now to look at that distance or to look at a full gator?
I can look at his head and tell you within a couple inches how big he is.
Really?
But I've been doing it for 40 years.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then also doing it for a living, so I know exactly because I'll guess him, we'll kill him, and we'll pull him out and measure him. So we know that we're not just saying, oh, he's 7 foot and just that's
Pretty much
it.
science. Yeah.
We've got him killed and we got a tape on him.
So then once you're riding around and you see these things and you're like, oh, that's the one, because not everyone is a trophy hunt, right?
No, we do management hunts, and then some people will just want a small one because, say, Dad's doing a trophy hunt. He's got Junior along. He doesn't want to spend that on Little Man, but hey, that lesser gator right there, he'll shoot
Here's
that.
your first gator, boy.
Yeah.
So we have 2 or 3 categories of size ranges for people to hunt to fit pretty much every budget. And so, yeah, they're neat. And a weird little thing about alligators, they're actually kind of built like a chicken as far as meat structure-wise. The entire thing is white meat except for his legs. His legs are dark meat.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that's wild.
What do you do with a gator leg?
Some people do, some people cook them, cut them up for fry meat. There's actually a guy in town now who's been taking them, smoking them, and chipping it up and making like a fish dip.
Oh, really?
With gator meat.
Huh.
Sounds interesting.
It's
So-
actually pretty decent.
Do many people grind them like deer meat or something?
So I'm getting ready to try some myself. I'm going to take restaurant owner, a friend of mine took some from me. He wanted to try it out for some special clients he had. And they took alligator meat, 16 pounds of gator meat, ground 4 pounds of maple bacon in with it, and patted it like a hamburger, and put it on a bun with like a remoulade sauce. And he said everybody just
I
was
bet.
absolutely amazing.
That does sound all right.
It does sound good.
Now I'm getting a little.
I like gator. I'm actually very hungry. So we kind of distracted you though from what a gator hunt is like. So
Yeah, no, you're fine. So we're just riding around spotting and stalking. I already know what size gator you're looking for to fit your budget. So we just ride until we find that gator. And you're not obligated to take the first gator we shoot. We're going to see plenty. On my ranch, we can ride around and see roughly 150 alligators a day. Wow. Of all sizes.
So it's a safari experience outside of just the fact
Yeah,
that it's
and it's not I really, how, you go on a backcountry elk hunt or something, it's, I hope we get something or I hope we see something. You're absolutely going to see and you're absolutely going to get. So
wow.
It's all free range fair chase. It's not high fenced. They're not bought and brought in. There's none of that going on. It's free range fair chase, but it's as good as any high fence hunting ever because we just have such an abundance of them.
So how does that work? Are you having to rotate ranches, or do you have like a cap on what you'll take so that you can replenish? Because it probably takes, you know the number, but to get to a gator that's a size that someone cares to shoot, it takes a few years.
It takes a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what we do on our ranch is how we get our tags is a biologist comes out in January. He does a survey with us on the ranch. He'll do physical count, water temperature, air temperature, renewable outside resource. He'll crunch all these numbers, compared to like amount of acreage of water on the acreage of land. And he'll tell us, okay, Matt, you're allowed to kill 150 on this ranch. We might go over and do a survey on another ranch, and he might tell me I'm allowed 20 on that one. So we have several different ranches we hunt to keep the rotation. So we don't wear out any one piece of property.
So American alligators used to be on the endangered species list, right?
I believe so.
What year? Do you know what year they came off?
I don't remember. I don't know if I think I'm going to say about 25, 30 years ago, they started allowing us to hunt them.
So just a huge success on that front.
It's probably the greatest American conservation success story, I think. I mean, a lot of people would say
Turkeys,
that at least.
gators,
Turkeys,
and bald eagles. Those are all going to be kind of in that range.
Maybe
right?
white-tailed deer, but like, I mean, alligators. I mean, apparently there's a lot of them around,
and the
right?
fact that you look at a turkey, and a 3-year-old turkey is an old turkey. Well, it takes a 30-year-old gator to be an old gator, probably, right? When you just said
if he's an old gator, our average old gator that our average trophy gator is probably 50 plus. Yeah,
gotcha.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's a big deal. We just got to get the grizzly bears off the endangered.
That's right.
Yeah, there's no doubt on that.
So essentially, what kind of weaponry is it going to take to make this happen?
So with the alligator hunt on, let's say a management hunt, we're going to try to kill a gator somewhere in that 6, 7, 8 foot range. I like something like a 223, 22 Hornet. There's some little Wildcat rounds, the smaller rounds like that that'll work fine. Reason being, we don't want to do too much damage to the head because majority of people are going to want to mount the head. On those big gators, I like 308 or bigger because we're really trying to get them dead where we shoot them because we don't want them to. Some of these places we're hunting have big reservoirs, 400, 500 acre reservoir. So if you wound one, he's going to be pretty difficult to track in a 500 acre reservoir. So we like to, when we shoot them, we like to kill them right where they lay.
So are you trying to kill those animals by concussion, or are you severing the brainstem, or like what's the goal with the round?
An alligator's head, I kind of relate it to a concrete block. If you shoot a gator in the head, it'll actually crack his whole entire head. We're just trying to do a lot of damage and get that alligator killed. We don't want anything getting away. We don't want anything wounded. So we like that higher power on those big gators because, again, we're shooting a gator that's going to be 400 to 600 pounds.
Yeah.
We need to stop him right there because then also we have to go get him. So now we got to deal with an alligator that's going to be highly upset if he's not dispatched. So
how do you end up getting one?
It depends on where they're at. Sometimes we just wade out there and get them. Sometimes we'll throw a fishing pole and put a snag hook on them and drag them over to the bank where we can get our hands on them. Sometimes if they're way out, we'll take an airboat and go out and get them. But most of the time it's just hands on. We just get in the water and get them.
And what if they're still alive?
It gets western.
People pay more.
You're a brave dude.
If the gator's still alive?
It gets western. Things get a little crazy.
So I got our fact checkers over here showed me that they went on endangered species list in 67.
Okay.
And 87 is when they came off.
Yep.
So they're on
Jamie.
20 years and went to back to good conservation.
How about
status.
that?
So
That's cool, man.
Pretty interesting. Apparently they are prolific. How many eggs do they lay? Probably.
So a nest will have anywhere from 20 to 40 eggs.
Now this is something that I noticed living in Gator country down in South Texas. It seemed like either they'd have multiple broods a year or gators are breeding. It ain't just like a one event. Like they'll be like I remember seeing
once
babies
a year in Florida here it is.
But I would see babies in like March or April, and then I'd see babies in October.
When you're seeing those babies that are this long, that was from last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so it's like
the
like
newborns
8 inches a newborn.
6-8 inches.
Yeah.
Yep.
So in a year they grow another 8 inches.
Maybe, probably not even that much.
Really?
Yeah.
And would that be like throughout their lifespan, 8 inches a year or so?
They're gonna grow. They're gonna grow at a higher rate until they get to that 6-7 foot range, and then they're gonna start to slow down. And those really big gators, man, they grow like a 1/4 inch a year or less. They just don't have that. And it all depends on food source and everything else. But
Well, you start talking about that volume of animal, a 1/4 inch around the whole critter, you're adding 15 pounds that year or something. I don't know what it is, but you know, like they still.
At what point do they become predator exclusively and not prey anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so they can they're subject to get eaten at any time. Unless, once they get up around that 10-foot mark, you start to, I think they don't have to worry as much about the bigger gators, the ones that are a little bit bigger than them. But it's almost every gator we kill, he'll be chewed up. He'll be missing a foot, missing a leg. We've killed them that they're missing their tail. It's been bit in half. Bite marks all over them. They're an extremely aggressive animal.
You just told us a story about that. That just happened yesterday. I wasn't on the rig, but y'all saw one do something like that, right?
Yeah, well, that was one of the cowboys here on the ranch saw. He rode by a water hole. A 7-footer jumped over a 9-footer to get in the water, and the 9-footer grabbed him, took him in the water, and was rolling with him. So,
and they were just buddies like 5 seconds before that.
They were just out there sunning together.
Man, that is wild.
It's a rough world, man.
Yeah.
So I had a guy here on an archery hunt, and on the other ranch, archery hunting for gators, and they one of the ranch hands called and said, "Hey, there's a big gator crossing the road up here. He's got something in his mouth. He's going to be in the ditch." And he told me what block he was in. So we go over there. What he had in his mouth was an 8-foot gator that they'd bitten clean in half.
Golly.
Oh my goodness.
And we ended up getting him killed with a bow, and he was 11 foot.
So when you shoot him with a bow, what does that setup look like?
So we're trying to shoot him in the head. If he's in the water, the only option we have is to shoot him in the head. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people think, well, you're not going to get any penetration. You don't need much. You need an inch or two. Mm-hmm. You just got to break that bone. Their brain is right there. If he's laying up on the bank sunning, we're going to shoot him right in that armpit, heart, lung. Mm-hmm. He is going to get in the water, but then that hole's going to start taking in water. He's basically going to start drowning. 9 times out of the 10, the alligator will actually come get out of the water, or at least he'll get out of the water enough to get the hole out of the water.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever have to use like a seine net to get them out?
No.
Find them in a pond or
You were
something?
talking about fishing poles the other day, though. What is that deal?
So we'll take a fishing pole with a big weighted snag hook, and we'll throw it out there and snag him just to drag him over to the bank to where we can get our hands on him to get him pulled out.
But sometimes he's alive whenever that happens?
Sometimes he's still alive, and then sometimes you get some guys that want to be a little more hands-on, and before we ever even shoot him, they want to snag him with a fishing pole, fight him in, and then get him killed.
That sounds cool.
See, I don't like that.
Now
Actually, I would rather do the spot and stalk shoot thing, because there's some hunts in Texas that you can draw and stuff, and I think a lot of them are hook and line.
Yeah,
and
because those are public land.
Yeah,
they're not private land tags.
Yep.
That's the way ours are here.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever chunked the hunk of meat in front of the gator and hooked him that way? Like
a lot of times we'll use I'll save some lungs out of the hogs. And we use lungs because they float.
Oh.
So we throw that lung out there. It floats on top of the water. He can smell it, and he'll come to it. And a lot of times,
this is awesome.
That is pretty cool.
That is cool.
Pretty cool.
So then I'll just kind of like bump it a little bit, and he'll see that movement, and he'll usually come right to it. They'll bite it, and they'll chomp it a few times, and they lift their head straight up in the air, and they're actually like tossing it back to their throat, swallow it, let it settle for a second, and then you got him hooked. But the reason we do it that hooked to a fishing pole, because if a gator approaches that bait that's not something that we want, we can get it away from him. We can reel it in.
How fast do you think they can swim?
Michael Phelps can't outswim them.
Yeah, I believe it.
They're fast.
They are.
Yeah, they're fast.
It's insane to see. We saw one the other day doing it, and I've seen them before, but you'll be out in the marsh in a boat, and there'll be a gator in 10 inches of water, and all of a sudden he takes off, and there ain't any water left in the marsh. They just throw water everywhere.
They're a special animal, man. They're really something else. I've killed some big gators in water so shallow they couldn't get under the water. 10, 11, 12-foot gators. They're they can't even hide. Huh. And it's weird. They'll get their head underwater, and they just think they're underwater.
It's kind of like a buck bedded in a wheat stubble field, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, I can see your antlers, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of other hunts, too. I mean, hog hunting, and we've been here doing a little turkey hunting, just kind of hanging out and seeing the property.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's pretty awesome here.
Yep.
I've never been to Florida until we came this trip.
Really?
It's always something I wanted to do,
Gotcha.
But Texas has so many cool things, too. It's kind of hard to get
No,
out
absolutely.
there once in a while.
Yep.
But the Osceola turkey has been speaking the sweet music out there.
Don't be trying to make me spill the beans.
Well, ain't no beans. They're neat.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons I noticed about them. Mm-hmm. They, for one, they sound different on the roost. the hens have a lot more whistle to instead of the raspy thing.
Yeah.
And then they don't talk as much in general on the ground.
So far.
Yeah.
But we did encounter rain.
We had a tiny sample size.
Yeah.
But I noticed the gobble seemed a little bit like not necessarily higher pitched, but like throatier, not as like
I felt like the
from
notes
gut,
are closer together too.
like
You know,
quicker,
yeah.
like more like a chipmunk. Kinda.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it kind of
and
sounds
I think
like a chipmunk.
that like you go and listen to a Rio, it's blah 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 blah, and these are
Right.
like very fast.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah, it's interesting.
And they absolutely are way darker than any turkey I've ever seen.
Yeah, they appear black. Like when you're just riding across the pasture and you'll see the hens, they're kind of that brown gray. When you see a black bird, he's a gobbler. Yeah, they are almost jet black, and at distance they appear jet black.
Yeah. Do you happen to know what they weigh on average?
Yeah, on average they're probably going to go about 18 pounds, 20 pounds on
They're pretty
a mature
big still.
tom.
Yeah.
They appear leggy. They appear tall. And that's what I hear a lot of people say is, they have that teenager look. They look a little thinner, a little taller.
Yeah.
Versus like your Rios and especially your Easterns. And those birds are a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
But
And it's not much though. Like it doesn't. I was expecting when I saw when I saw, how a lot of people have ground shrinkage when they shoot a deer.
Sure.
Like when I saw one on the ground, I expected it to be small. So I was trying to set myself up for that.
Right.
And they weren't really that way. I mean, they look like when you shoot them, you're like, that's a turkey.
You saw one on the ground?
I've seen a few. You shot one, right?
How did you happen to see one on the ground, Tyler?
Well, we might have, we've started this new brand called Double Up Outdoors. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, we have done that a decent amount.
That's
It's
what I
kinda
was
fun.
telling Matt earlier. Is like for whatever reason we tend to shoot things on the same like evening or morning,
Or
whatever.
it's 7 days later.
Yeah, it's way apart. Yeah,
one or the other, right?
yeah, it's not like a back-to-back days or anything for whatever reason. But yeah, we had a good morning, and we can talk more about it now or later. It doesn't matter to me. But there will be some videos from this stuff. It's going to be really cool.
Yeah,
so.
essentially, we had a good morning turkey hunting. I'd say it was pretty pristine. Yeah,
Yep.
it was a fun time. But Matt, thanks for letting us come down and hang out, man.
Oh, no worries, man. No worries.
Yeah.
I'm glad they turned on for you guys today. We didn't have a bad day yesterday, but we had a slower day. We had a lot of rain, a lot of wind, and that kind of gave us a little bit of a window this morning. It cleared up on us, and you guys can tell the turkeys did a lot better today than they did yesterday, and they're the same birds.
Yeah, they're cooperating.
And, you guys probably tagged out within, 30 minutes of each other? Hour?
Yeah,
He sent me
30 or
a
45
picture
minutes.
of that shell.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got one hot too.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it didn't take very long.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to come on a gator hunt, Triple M.
Triple
right?
M Outfitters.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Triple M Outfitters. You can look me up on social media, website, whole 9 yards.
seems like you got a lot of people that respect what you do, and just appreciate you being just a real dude, man. It's easy going. So
No,
Good time
for sure.
hanging out.
It's,
Palm Bay, right? It's kind of where you're based
Palm
out
Bay,
of.
Florida. Yeah, we're an hour from Orlando. Orlando's the easiest to fly into. A quick hour trip to the east over here at the coastline, and we can be on the beach and doing whatever, and then we can be over here in the ranch in 15 minutes.
yeah.
Sounds
So-
like a pretty good
It's a good spot to be,
situation.
isn't it? Well, so if anybody's interested, we'll try to link in the show notes, and I hope that we do that. I can't 100% guarantee that. But we will also be posting some pictures from this trip.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll be tagging Matt in that. So yeah, if you're interested in coming on a gator hunt, man, it's something that I will do at some point.
It's a
for
unique
sure.
place. By the way, in case anybody cares, I added about 3 new birds to my life
Really?
list while I was
Which
here.
ones?
Wood stork was one of the ones for sure. I got 2 others I need to look up and make sure and confirm what they are. But
I saw a bird yesterday. I couldn't tell you what it was, but it was different than one I'd seen.
Yeah.
Anyone I'd seen.
So that is just
Wasn't that Cara you were talking
No,
about?
we
Something
have
different?
Caracaras at home.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. Okay.
We had actually, I think it was Hurricane Katrina. Like there was a huge influx of Caracaras.
Really?
At that point.
Really?
Yeah. And I don't know if we probably had them before. It's probably in the range or whatever. But like, I just know that like a lot of birds got pushed up the coast when that happened.
Yeah,
So,
it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But it's just a unique and plentiful ecosystem around here.
Absolutely. It's a target-rich environment for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Well, I enjoyed hanging out, man. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Have to get you guys back down and show you some of the other ranches and show you some different things.
Sure. I want to ride one of them big buggies, man.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of them. They're a good time.
Yeah.
They're a good time.
Thanks, Matt.
Take care, guys.